Good morning. Welcome to day 25 of Momo Strategy in the Simulator. Let's take a look at what we got today. USCOW is the top leading gainer today. It is a penny stock above the 200 moving average and on very light volume right now. Gold mining company, Canadian, not particularly interested. PN had some news this morning. It's got the right price and the right float. It's just it popped up after hours on Friday and peaked earlier during pre-market around 677. We'll keep an eye on this one since it is in the right price range. The news isn't particularly clear on the stock quote, so let me read it quick. So they had a recent reverse split, and their news is that they regained compliance with the NASDAQ minimum bid requirements. That's not very strong news. That's not particularly interesting either, actually. Put PN on a side chart, but we'll see. It is up almost 100% here. ADVB, low float, up 50%, getting some volume. So this is a stock that popped up a few days ago. That's why I have all these resistance levels there. It looks like some of them are still valid. CNSP popping up on news. It is a US biotech stock. Already up 100%. We have room to the 200 moving average, and it is a low float. But we got a topping tail forming on the 1 minute now because we popped up to 657 and came back down. So it is a private placement headline. These used to work pretty well. So the float is good. It's a biotech stock. That's good. We just need to break high of day with even higher volume buying or curl back up here. It is quite interesting that as soon as CNSP popped up, ADVB just sold off like immediately as everyone swapped their attention. We are holding the 9 EMA here. So while we're waiting for this to potentially do something and figure out which direction it wants to go in, I'll just quickly go over a bit of a recap. So last week I ended in the red and I had 3 lost days in a row, even though they were very, very small lost days for all 3 of them. None of them were close to my max loss. They were like $6 to $20 losses. So in the grand scheme of things, they're not a big deal. But today I'm mostly just going to be focusing on base hits with the strategies that I have the most edge with. Basically trade a rehab time just to get back on the horse and regain some confidence. So this week, my main focus is going to be technical breakouts, 5-day breakouts, breaking news, and technical setups at the open for gap and goes. So here we would be waiting for a technical breakout in some manner to form. The high of that pivot is 532. We're rejecting off of 550 there. I don't know why it's not letting me bring it down to 555. It's awkward. Oh, there we go. Why it's different on this chart than it is on this chart. Fine. So below technical breakout point, if I'm expecting, if I'm going to anticipate a break that I need to trade with 1/8 size, very, very small size. You do have the 9 EMA creeping up to this technical breakout point right now, but we've got topping tails on almost all of these candles. I'd rather wait to see what happens here. Quarter share size for a $5 stock is 50 shares. We have that MX seller popping up at 550 there. Okay, so we break 550. Go up to 6. We are retesting right now. So first candle to make a new high would be 6 to 18. So we would be looking for the break of 625 to retest high of day. Since we are retesting that previous level of resistance right now, support becomes resistance, or resistance becomes support. The high of this new red candle is 587, so now we would be looking for the break of 6. First candle to make a new high. We kind of reject off of 6 there. We're coming back up. I'm going to take a small starter, 25 shares, looking for the breakthrough 620. Stop is 605. We break there, I'm going to add. I'm going to scale out a little bit up here as it retests 650. Set a couple of profit targets. We failed to break, so I'm just going to take the rest. Okay, so we break. So I took that out a bit too soon there. Looking for support to add on the first pullback. We break 8. I'm going to add small share size as we squeeze up. Take some profit up here. A little bit more profit. Scale out the rest for now because we got some topping tails up at 9. So we got a big topping tail on the 1 minute right now. I could have been a lot more aggressive on that, and I did scale out too early down here. Like I said, I'm focusing on base hits right now. I'm not going for home runs. I need to rebuild my confidence. So we're up $22, so we got a little bit of a cushion. So I need to chill out now and wait for another good setup, not give back. High up there was 929. We are up 250%, so we'll see how many more opportunities the stocks give us. We're a little bit extended on the 5-minute. This will be the third green candle in a row. But this might be the first pullback after a fresh breakout on the 1-minute. So high is 835 there. That 1-minute candle. Sorry. We got increasing volume on the 1-minute, which is good. So potentially looking for the break through 850 for the retest of 9. But we do have sellers popping up there at 827. We may have a ABCD pattern forming in the 1-minute. Eight seconds left. Seconds left on this 1-minute candle. I'm going to take a position looking for the squeeze up to 9. I'm going to take some profit up here. 856. So we break back down there. I don't like how it broke back down. I did take some profit up at 892, but I'm going to take the rest because of that topping tail and just get out. Because it rejected pretty hard right there from 9 all the way back down to 830. So 40 cents on the first half plus and minus 18 on the second half. So got a little bit more profit there. I was hoping that it would squeeze through 9 there, which is why I didn't just take all of it. We got a second base hit, which is good. But now, because of that rejection, I'm going to have to be more careful for false breakouts here. We're starting to get close to crossing over on MACD. So high was 929, so I have to wait for a breakout of 929. So a couple things to note there about my position sizing is that I still only traded with 50 shares since we weren't squeezing through high of day. I had a cushion on the day since I was up 20 bucks, but I'm not trading with full size right now because I'm in trader rehab for one. So I'm trading with half size at the most, trading with half size. So my trader rehab playbook is a few things. So if my drawdown, trader rehab starts for two reasons. One of two reasons. Either my drawdown exceeds 5% of my account, or I have 3 consecutive lost days in a row. And then trader rehab starts. And I meet both criteria right now. So once trader rehab starts, then I'm restricted to trading with 50% max position size, so half position size. I still have to do quarter position size to start the day, but my max position size, my size up position size is 50% until I regain either half of my drawdown or I have 3 winning days in a row. In this case, I still traded with quarter size on that last trade because we're not squeezing through high of day right now. So my max position size being 100 shares on a size up, I still only traded half for this kind of no man's land area that I couldn't guarantee that it was going to squeeze up through the highs. So I'm just focusing on base hits right now. I'm not focusing on big winners. I'm focusing on regaining my confidence, regaining some of that drawdown, focusing on the best setups that work for me. So now that we have a $27 cushion, the most important thing to me is not to give this back to the market. We're going to wait for either this to pop up through high of day, because now we're kind of on the backside of the move. MACD crossed over, so we have to wait for it to curl back up to high of day. Or we wait for another stock to give us a good opportunity on breaking news or a high of day squeeze. So just for comparison right now, if I were trading with account size similar to Ross and share size similar to Ross, that would be about 100 times my current share size. So this would be a $2,700 green day, $2,700 cushion right now for him. It is a bit unfortunate that on my very first trade I scaled out so quickly. Like I said, I was focusing on base hits. But I'll have to go back and look at my VOD to see if that was a knee-jerk reaction. Like, we did reject off of 6 here and we were having trouble coming back up, but we came up and I sold right before it popped up here. And my next order was up at 827, so it was the first pullback. So I actually missed 650 up to 790. I missed $1.50 a share of this move, which is really unfortunate because I had my entry down here. Like, my entry was down here, 613 and 631, but it popped up, and the fact that it rejected off of 650 instead of breaking through kind of scared me off. I suppose I could have re-entered immediately for the break of 7, but I wanted to make sure that I was holding first. But I ended up buying for the first pullback. So I only captured from 8 up to I even feel a little bit high, 830 up to 850, 860. I only captured a small portion of this move, which isn't great, but it is what it is. Gotta look back at the VOD and see if we can do better. But for the opportunity that was given to us, even though I'm only focusing on base hits, I should be up more than $27. I suppose I'm still not ready to capture a move like this. Like a 250% move on today. I guess maybe I should lock in more for when, I mean, this meets all of the criteria, right? Private placement, low float, high price, or not high price, but like price between 5 to 10, float sub 1 million shares with plenty of room up to the 200 moving average. Maybe I should have locked in, give it more opportunity, even though I'm in trader rehab. But not capturing the move, I guess, is better than accidentally taking a loss. Being skittish and not capturing the whole piece is better than taking another loss and having a 4th loss day in a row and going into a spiral. Oh, I like it's bouncing off of the 9 a little bit on the 2-minute chart. Um, I'm just typing up some notes on my report card while I wait for this to come back up and retest high of day. The curls in the past during this cold market haven't been working so well. So we'll wait for it to curl back up closer to high of day or until I see it moving very quickly back up to 9. That rejection gives us a bit of a pivot. It is 7:30, so I'm watching for if any other news comes out. So, just to extend on what I said earlier, I have heard many professional traders say that the person who extends their run in the market to become a profitable and professional trader. I've heard at least 3 professionals say this actually, is that they can identify the opportunities where they really need to go hard and get that big win, and the opportunities where, maybe they're not as big of a win. Maybe they're still in your playbook, but market conditions kind of force you to take your foot off the gas, and maybe the particular setup isn't one that you want to put in a bunch of risk for. But the good traders, they add to their winners, and they can identify those really good bread and butter setups where they have to go hard. So expanding on what I said earlier, if I had, even though I'm in trader rehab, that does play a part, but when I see a stock that fits my price range, $5 to $10, sub 1 million share float, has news that has a good catalyst, is moving quickly, and is a biotech stock with room to the 200 moving average, to become a really successful trader, I need to be able to identify that ahead of time that this is an A plus quality stock. It's not just an A quality, it's an A plus quality. I call them multiplying and dividing factors for certain things. So, for example, multiplying factors would be a float below 1 million shares. Because the float is so low, these are the type of stocks that have the potential to make the biggest moves. On top of it already being A quality in the sense that it's between $5 to $10, it's in that sweet spot range, and it has news and it has all the pillars of stock selection. As a multiplying factor, the fact that the float is below 1 million shares. Another multiplying factor would be if we were at blue sky, like all-time highs. That's another multiplying factor. So anything on top of an A quality stock selection that would bring the opportunity over and above, where you can identify, okay, well, this is a stock that I really need to double down on and take advantage of, because this is the stock that has the potential to make me a lot of money. And one stock can carry you through many, many days. And dividing factors, since I mentioned them, dividing factors are things like if the stock is easy to borrow in a lot of platforms. So it's dividing factors are just things that even if the stock is like a quality or whatever quality it is, you should be more cautious. The opportunity is divided. It's not as good if it's easy to borrow or whatever. So popping up here. 1 second left. I don't like how it's rejecting off of 9 like that. So MACD was still negative, so there was a higher chance of a false breakout there. But we're coming back up. It's pretty strong, but that's high volume selling on the 1 minute. I want to see a break and hold of 9. We broke up there. I don't like how it popped up to 940 and then came all the way back down. Okay, that's pretty strong. We're above 10, so I'm going to take just a small 10 share position for the squeeze up. I'll add if it breaks 1050. We're breaking down with selling. I'm just going to get out. We have the 9 EMA coming up to support a little bit. Ross is taking quite a bit of advantage of this stock. He's already up almost 46,000. Crazy. This might be first candle to make a new high on the 1 minute there. 5983. I'm looking to take a 25 share starter for the break back through 10. First candle to make a new high. If you break 10, I'll add. I'm not breaking out, so I'm just going to get out scratch. Breakout or bailout mentality. Price action is pretty difficult up here. So 1020, 1016, 1020. There's a little bit of a pivot at 1020 and high of day at 1082. It was just as awkward back here where it pops up with a big topping tail, comes back, and now as we're breaking through this pivot, we still have to get through the resistance of the topping tail. It's a little bit tricky because you have two levels of resistance to break through, so it's kind of hard to find the correct entries. Without having to deal with a false rejection. False breakout, I mean. Okay, so we got an entry candle in the 1 minute, potentially for the breakthrough 10. 40 seconds left. 30 seconds left on this 5-minute. We popped up. Are we holding these EMAs on the 10-second? MACD is still negative. So I think my opportunity on this stock to make opportunities to make the most money on this stock are kind of over. unfortunately. Hmm. I should have recognized this pattern on the 1 minute here, because this is kind of a bull flag pattern with two candles. As it came back up here and retested the 9 EMA. I should have expected the breakthrough 9, I think. This surged up really quickly with volume once it broke, so it was difficult to find an entry after it broke. So at least I'm up money on it, and I didn't give back too much on it. I only gave back $5. $5 on it because I traded with a really small share size for the breakthrough through 10. Just in case it went parabolic up a few dollars a share. Sometimes it does that when it breaks 10. But I learned from my mistake last time, which was, when it reaches over $10, they usually suddenly have really big range, and that ended up being the case. I bought at 10.30 and it dropped all the way back down to 9.77 pretty quickly. So I had traded with 50 shares, then I would have lost all my profits back, and I would have been extremely, extremely disheartened today. So it was the right decision to trade with small share size. Maybe I could have, cut it a little bit quicker, but my reactions are a bit slower today too. I didn't get very good sleep last night. So between trader rehab, not getting enough sleep, and, just stuff that's been going on in general, I've been pretty busy in real life, cleaning my apartment because I'm looking to get a tenant in and whatnot. So it's unfortunate that I didn't, take better opportunity of this earlier in the move. Even when this first popped up way back here, if I had pulled it up quicker, then I might have been able to take advantage of this first pullback at 4, although it was a really light volume. Maybe I could have bought for breakthrough 4 or 450, then just gotten a base hit, maybe $1 a share or 50 cents a share on the first move. Here it was holding the 9 EMA, came all the way up, broke through, but I didn't take good advantage of this first squeeze, unfortunately, since I had sold early. So lessons to learn from this, but there are circumstances today that prevented me from taking better advantage of it. We're just going to focus on base hits. If we don't get any other really good news today, then I might not even take any more trades today. If this holds up at the open, I might trade it at the open. But we're gonna wait around and see if there's anything else that is an A quality or A plus quality setup. We might have some FOMO after having such a big move. The traders might be more willing to jump on to something if it's similar. If we see a biotech stock or a low float stock, or just a stock in the healthcare sector, or with a private placement catalyst or whatever, maybe just in general, $5 to $10 stock, then more traders might be willing to jump on it. So we might have another opportunity today. But I'm not taking any setups that are not A quality. Nothing less than A quality. It's just base hit time. Once I recover half of this drawdown, which is about $60, I think, 60 or $70, then I can, or I get 3 consecutive green days in a row, then I can go back to trying to trade my regular rules. But Today is not the day for me to do it. It's 8 a.m. So we will watch for news. I'm going to keep this on a side chart. ASRT. It is the healthcare sector with a merger headline, but it's a higher price. Has room up to 26, 27. We're above this daily level there. It's also very light volume. It's a higher price. I wouldn't consider this at all on any other cold day, but today is a little bit warmer. If I trade this, it would just be with 10 shares and nothing else. But it's only up 15%. It's on light volume. Since it's a merger agreement in the healthcare sector, if it starts moving quickly, since it has room up to 27, then I wouldn't be opposed to jumping in to get a little bit off of it, just to get a base hit. But it needs more volume and it needs to be up more on the day. It's also a 6 million share float, so it's a little bit of a higher float. But that is, counterbalanced by the fact that it's a higher price. Is this a... Is this a buyout? Is that why this is going sideways like this? Sometimes it depends who is doing the buying, like who is doing the merging. Sometimes it's a buyout and then it just pops up and then goes sideways and doesn't really have any action. Sometimes merger headline means that they're buying out another company, in which case, you know, their stock surges. So here's another biotech stock with a bit of news. 717 is at previous daily level. Has room up to 1086. It has an 8 million share float. So we break through there. So where do we have support? 30% up on the day. High is 909. We break 9 there, so I'm going to take a position looking for the squeeze up to 950. Looking for another base hit. See if it pulls away. Doesn't pull away. I'm going to try and I'll just get back out. Ends up being a $10 loss. Pretty annoying. So first candle to make a new high on the 10-minute if it holds VWAP, but it looks like it's just selling off. So the moment it stopped pulling away there, I was thinking of putting an order up out on the ask to get out so that the loss wouldn't be as big. But it didn't fill, and then I had to sell for the breakdown. It ended up being a 20-cent loss. I thought that this had a good chance of pulling away since it's a biotech stock, you know, up 30% with news in the price range that, you know, is the sweet spot price range. And it has a room up on the daily. So I had everything, you know, everything going for it since we just had that big move on CL or CNSP, I thought that some people might jump on this for the squeeze higher. It didn't end up working out. What I should have done is I should have bought this this pullback right here at 818. But I still wasn't sure because right here at 797, it like pulled back below there, below that level. But I guess since it closed above, then that was a good sign that it held the level. The squeeze 815 up to 892. So I went on rambling earlier about how I wouldn't take any more trades if it wasn't an A quality setup. Technically, this is an A quality setup. I don't think I made the wrong decision. I think I just made the wrong entry. You know, the float is a little bit higher, but that's not not outside of the float range that I'm willing to trade. Was this an easy to borrow stock? I don't have that information, unfortunately. Let me scroll up. Someone said it's easy to borrow at Ocean One. Easy to borrow on Lightspeed. I'm guessing that's why Ross didn't enter the trade, is because it's easy to borrow. I wish I had that information. You know, since I'm not trading with a regular broker, I don't know if it's easy to borrow or not unless I'm watching the chat or listening to Ross's stream. Otherwise, maybe I may not have touched it if I knew that it was easy to borrow. But that makes sense, right? Usually the first pops on easy to borrow stocks don't work very well, as Ross has said before. And this ended up being one of those stocks. But easy to borrow does usually work pretty well for VWAP setups. But it's not really giving us a good setup right here. We've got declining volume, high volume selling, big topping tail on the 5-minute. Yeah, ears itchy. One thing I forgot to check this morning is how the S&P 500 is doing. We bounced off of previous resistance down there. It's since been coming back up, but kind of just going sideways a little bit. Funny that the moment I look away, the stock goes up. So high of 923. The stock market is literally pointing the middle finger at me. I open the S&P 500, I look away for 2 seconds, it's like, boom. Time to go long. Not sure I would have taken a trade on this anyways. It's quite the rejection. 950 all the way down to 830. Thing has quite a bit of range, having a higher float. 30 seconds left on that 2-minute candle. We got that pivot at 950, which is, I guess it's not a pivot, it's high of day, but 5 days 942. But if we come back up here to 950 in the next 10 seconds, then that 2-minute candle is going to close the hammer. Yeah, that is pretty high volume selling in the previous 2 rejections, so at 950. We break through there. We don't hold 950. Back down. At a certain point, there will be capitulation from short sellers because we're going horizontally on the 1 minute here. They're failing to cause it to break down the 20 EMA on the 10 second. So we're creeping up, creeping up. As long as it doesn't break, it's going to cause them to stop out. Those are still high volume selling candles in the 1 minute, so best to be cautious. It is 8:30 in a minute here. So there's possibility for other news. This one I'm really not sure about because all the topping tails kind of dangerous, especially after I already gave back half of my earlier profits. I'm watching for other news. CNSP is curling back up a little bit. We've got this curling pattern here, but I'm not trading the curling pattern. I'm waiting for it to squeeze up quickly back up near high of day. could anticipate the break of 10 for it to squeeze back up to retest high of day rather than getting in at high of day, because that's how I've gotten smoked before, is getting in as, after having a bunch of green candles in a row and then being overextended. We have the Century candle on the 2-minute and 15 seconds left on the 5-minute, high of 960. This is the problem with curling patterns during a cold market. You might think the setup looks good. Right here, we just got a green bodied candle on the 5-minute. We got a hammer on the 2-minute. And just a small doji on the 1-minute for the breakthrough 960. Pops up to 964, doesn't move another inch, and then just rejects down almost $1 a share. So curling patterns still dangerous. The best area for entry would have been for the break of this pivot, this flat top break after it failed to break VWAP there. At 864. For the squeeze up to 960. This would be considered kind of like a VWAP test setup down here. As we triple bottomed off, then came back up and broke through this flat top. But I'm still trying to focus on breakouts and breaking news and whatever. I mean, that is a technical breakout, but I honestly wasn't paying attention to it. I'm a bit tired today. An IVF. This is a low float biotech stock, fiscal year results, room up to the 200, but it's a bit of a garbage stock. A Hong Kong company has volume coming into it. This would be an A plus kind of setup if it weren't for the daily, and if it weren't for the fact that it's just fiscal year results and it's a Chinese company. So I could have jumped in there at 250 for the squeeze up to 3, and that would have worked. It's just, I'm trying to be really picky right now because the consequences of me losing another trade right now would be very high, since I'm really trying to focus on base hits, and I didn't take very good advantage of CNSP, and I already gave back half of the profits that I did make on CNSP. If I go into the red here today by taking a bad trade, it would be extremely disheartening. So at a certain point, it might be better for me just to lock up this green day, take a win, and then come back another day when I'm not tired. But I do feel like my eyes are burning and whatnot. The reason why I'm sticking around right now is just a temperature check of the market, since we did have that 250% squeeze earlier in the day. I want to see what the market is, like how it's going to react to that. If it's going to start heating up again, or if it's just going to stay cold and we're going to have stocks pop and dropping. But I really can't afford to take another loss today, so I'm just kind of sitting around unless something really, really good presents itself. And I just want to lock up this green day. Even if it is only $12, it's not nothing. There's quite a bit of volume. Ooh. This is a retest of VWAP setup here. So it's not touching VWAP, it's a few cents above it. Pivot is 284. Maybe a bear trap setup depending on if it comes back up. I'd be looking at 255 for a bear trap setup. 255, 256 with a retest of 75. The problem is that CNSP is curling back up again, so it's stealing volume from this right now. Now MACD is negative. So this is a very obvious setup on the 5-minute chart for the breakthrough 65. We came down from a level, came back up, failed. If it comes back up to 10, then there's a high likelihood that it breaks through. We're rejecting off of 64 again. We broke 64 there. We failed to hold. And it's coming back up. And seconds left. The 2-minute and 1-minute candles. We've got increasing volume on the 2-minute, but decreasing volume on the 1-minute. 9 a.m. watching for news. This bear trap setup would have worked here from the break back through VWAP at 250 up to 265. 15 cents on a $2 stock isn't fantastic, but still something. But I'm not particularly interested in trading it. HTCO popping up 5 million share float. 200 moving average is at 12. But it's not enough on the day. So it's a cancellation of offering. Getting a little bit of volume. Problem is that it's only up 10% right now. And we had this previous squeeze up to the 60s, so we're kind of in the shadow of that right now. Oh man. I don't know. Well, if there's no other news, I'll stick around until the open, but I may not take any more trades. It depends on how CNSP is set up at the open, if it's close to the highs or it gives us a nice setup, then maybe, but really don't want to give back the rest of my profits today. CNSP does have a setup on the 5-minute. We're still trading below the highs here. Something interesting to note that I've noticed whenever we have a stock that makes a big move like this up 250, 300% is that usually if you don't capitalize on it in a cold market, nothing else is moving for the rest of the day. We had NIVF move up a little bit, but it didn't hold and break over the highs. And that's likely because the big stock ends up stealing a lot of the volume. So there ends up being dispersed attention. If another stock pops up and this thing is still holding VWAP, then it's going to be taking volume. So it's difficult for other stocks to move since there's a lot of volume being siphoned pretty much at all times throughout the day. So it's making another attempt. 5-minute close there. With a nice green bodied candle on the 1 minute. Nice hammer on the 2 minute. A bit of 988. But it still rejects anyway. That's a pretty strong bounce there. Ten seconds left. Yeah, this thing is it's a little bit weird. I would have expected it to actually break through 1020 there, considering how quickly that moved up. It bounced from 930 all the way up to 10. And it was about to form, because it had a few seconds left on this 1 minute candle, it was about to form a nice hammer. We are kind of breaking out of that range that I was trading in, above 88, coming back up to 10 now. Ten seconds left on that 1 minute candle that's forming a dragonfly right now. Ended up closing with a topping tail. 50 seconds left on the 5-minute candle. High is 1082. So if I trade this for the breakthrough 1082, like 1050, 1082, then I'm only taking 10 shares for the higher price stock. But we'll have to see if it comes up and breaks through or what it does here. 13 seconds left in the 5-minute candle. It's a pretty quick move. Bounced off of 10 and came all the way back up to 1050. Now we're retesting support of 1020. We've got a hammer on the 5-minute. 20 seconds left on this 1-minute and 2-minute candles. We're kind of creeping up here. Hmm. $10,000 share seller up at 1050. You can see those sellers there. When we pop up to 1050, then the ask becomes stacked. If we break through 1050, it's likely that we'll retest Hive Day. Question is just whether it can or not. We're selling off again. So if this holds the 9 EMA on the 5-minute, then at the open, this setup is going to be pretty obvious to traders. We have a clear pre-market high and 2 attempts to come up to this level. So first attempt and second attempt right now. If it comes through and breaks through high of day at 1082, and breaks through 11 during regular market open, and it's likely that it's going to squeeze into a halt up. Hey, Bullseye. Is this what Warrior is trading? If you're asking if Ross is trading this, he's not trading it right now. He's waiting for it to break out. He already made $46,000 on it earlier in the day on this stock specifically. But if you're asking if I'm a Warrior trading student, then yes, I am. I trade the same setups as Ross, basically. We're waiting for this to break out right now because it's trading within a range between high of day and VWAP. So we're waiting for the breakout of the highs. So it looks like Ross is just taking his profits for the day and is going to trade this at the open. He doesn't like trading at the open very much anymore because of how volatile it can be with the stop orders and the halts and all that stuff. We'll see if I trade this at the open or not. It doesn't look like it's giving us a very good setup right now. But yeah, that's a good idea. My rule is not to trade for at least the first 3 minutes of the opening bell. 3 to 5 minutes, you just hands off the keyboard because it's so volatile. So that is good practice, not to trade immediately because of how rough it can be with the big swings. Ross doesn't even really trade the open at all anymore, though. He kind of just gets off whenever pre-market is over. But I might not take any trades at the opening bell. I'm pretty tired today. I'm not feeling the best, and I don't want to give back the remainder of my profits today because I didn't capitalize enough on CNSP. And I was 3 days in the red last week, so just focusing on base hits, getting some winning days. We'll see though. If this breaks the highs and holds the highs, then I might take small size on it. But I'm not sure. We'll have to see. We got another 5 minutes to the opening bell. I'm just chilling out for now. Ross typically gets on at 7 a.m. Eastern time because a lot of brokers restrict pre-market trading before 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. is the best time to start pre-market trading usually, because you get some extra volume, and then there's more news releases between 7 to 9:30. 9:30 being the opening bell. So he usually trades 7 to 9:30. He will stay occasionally for market open if there's something that he really likes for trading at the opening bell, but these days, I mean, it's probably not even 10% of the time that I see him staying until the opening bell anymore. He's usually done by 9:30 because he says that he makes the most of his money pre-market now. Because he doesn't have to deal with halts, he doesn't have to deal with stop orders, he doesn't have to deal with algorithmic trading. I'm still testing the waters on gap and go trading myself, trading gap and goes at the open, but it has been rough. I think it depends on market conditions how good gap and go trades are at the open. There was a period there a few weeks ago where gap and goes were working really well at the open, and then they suddenly stopped working. So for me, I think for now I'm continuing to trade the open if I see opportunities, but kind of waiting for market conditions to be there where I see a lot of gap and go trades working. In the past week or two, the gap and go trades haven't been working so well, so we'll see what it does today. Yeah, that's the way it seems like. Some setups work really well for a little while and then they just don't work at all. And then they work really well again and then they don't work at all. It's kind of like picking which setups work. The setups that are usually work for back to basics for me are like a breaking news setup, like fresh news on that first pop, or if it breaks high of day. Later on, after a little bit of a consolidation, if it comes back up and breaks high of day, like those high of day squeezes, those are the ones that work pretty often. But my other setups are like curling patterns, but those haven't been working very well recently. I mean, just look at this stock, right? Like it's tried to curl up 3 times now and it's just kind of rejected every single time. During this cold market, curling patterns haven't been working. A lot of setups around VWAP are really choppy. The past couple of weeks, the gap and go trades have been really choppy, except for a few of them. Yeah, a lot of topping tails. Been rough. This market has been rough. I'm hoping that we get some volume when June rolls around, June 4th for change of the PDT rule. Hopefully we get some volume coming in. So here's the opening bell in a few seconds. See what happens here. I'm hands off for the first few minutes at the very least. Popping up there. High of day is 1082. About $1 a share to go. VWAP is all the way down at 850. Yeah, it's negative. It's curling back up a little bit. We'll see. If it ends up breaking 10, it could curl back up positive pretty quickly. This thing had a big range earlier today. So halt band is up at 1160. Because of the range and it's a higher price stock, at most I would take 10 shares of this for the break of 1080 for a $2,000 account. I think we're rejecting a bit off of 1050 up there. We got 2 minutes left on the 5-minute candle. We'll see if this can break 1080 in the next few minutes here. There's not really anything else I'm interested at the open today. I'm not interested in trading any of the continuation setups or any of the other stocks that are below VWAP. So if this one doesn't work out, then I'm just going to call it a day. Take my $12 lot or green day and lock it up so I can get a winning day in. Even if I could have taken more advantage of CNSP earlier on, green day is a green day, better than a red day. But wait a few minutes longer. But if it doesn't come back up to high of day here, then I'm not gonna wait around for it all day. It's just showing that it's a bit choppy right now. Kind of chopping around on the 10-second, forming a topping tail on the 5-minute. So although we're forming a bit of a bull flag setup here on the 2-minute, and we had a bull flag on the 1-minute, we're still trading in this range here, this 1082 and VWAP range. So it's going to remain choppy until we get a breakout. I'm just chilling, waiting for now. Yeah, now it's breaking down below that level. I think the stock might be a little bit too choppy today. Here at the open. And I don't have the luxury of waiting around all day for it to potentially break the high. Let's see if it breaks back up here or if it continues lower. If it continues lower, then I'm going to call it for the day. Because then it'll be on downtrend. This isn't looking too promising right now. So I think I'm going to call it here and do my recap. Really don't want to make a mistake and go in the red today. So early on in the day here, so I took an entry at 7:10:43. I took an entry right here. At 6:13, and then I added at 6:31 for the breakthrough 650, but it rejected off. I expected this to break through right away, so unfortunately I sold too soon here. It came back and retested the 9 EMA and it popped up. But I didn't get back in for the pop, unfortunately, to take advantage of the biggest squeeze on the stock in the day. I missed a $1.50 share on this first squeeze because I didn't get back in after I sold. Usually after I sell, I don't like to re-enter immediately because, it feels like I'm chasing. So I had to wait for the first pullback, and I ended up taking a trade on the first pullback at 712 here for first candle to make a new high. It popped up to 929, but I didn't take profits up there. I ended up only taking profits at 850 or 860, so I didn't get the maximum amount of profits that I could have out of that first pullback, unfortunately. And then my third entry on this was at 718. So that was right here. So I took this squeeze through 850 because I recognized it potentially being an ABCD pattern on the 1 minute here for the squeeze through 850, out back up to high of day. But it ends up coming back up to 9 and then rejecting. I took half profits at 892, so at 9, for a 50-cent winner, but it rejected pretty hard, and I ended up selling the rest at 838 for 20-cent loss. So that trade ended up being a winner, but it only ended up being a small winner because I didn't take all of the profits up at the highs there. So these were high of day squeeze setups. First trade was for the break of high of day. Second trade was a micro pullback on the squeeze, and then the third trade was an ABCD pattern on the breakthrough back through high of day for the retest of high of day. And after that, I didn't trade it any further. It was kind of just too choppy. I get kind of grinded back up here, but I didn't end up trading this stretch because it was a bit too grindy and there wasn't really many good spots to get in. And then it just kind of went sideways for the rest of the day. So I missed a $1.50 share on that big squeeze. Unfortunately, that's where most of my profits would have come from if I hadn't sold too soon on my very first trade, or if I had, gotten back in for that squeeze. But I waited for the first pullback for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because I'm in trader rehab right now, since I had 3 losing days in a row last week. I'm trying to be very careful just so I can regain some confidence, get some winning days back, recover some of the drawdown. And the second reason is, we've still been having kind of a cold, choppy market. It just hasn't been too great recently. So I'm trying to get some base hits, not go for home runs, chip away at the drawdown and come back up here and regain some confidence so that, in the next week or two, maybe if I recover most of the drawdown, then I can start trading with real money in preparation for the PDT rule change in June. since it is May right now, so we have about a month to go until the change to the PDT rule, where I'm hoping to see some increased volume come into the market. So I would like to start trading with real money before then. I mean, I haven't been exactly a profitable trader, but I have fixed most of my issues. During this cold market, I've been a break-even trader, but I expect during a hot market, I would likely be profitable. But that remains to be seen, depending on how I handle this drawdown. If I can, manage to chip away at it and come back up. But we'll see. I'm not going to take any more trades for the day, though. CNSP, kind of chopping around, not really interested in anything else. I don't want to make a mistake and go red and have a fourth red day in a row. I just want to take my $12 of profit and call it a day here and not get frustrated because I make a mistake and then end up in a spiral, a death spiral. But I'll be back at it again tomorrow. Thank you to whoever stopped by. Thanks Bullseye for stopping by and checking out the stream. And I'll be back at it tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern time, as per usual. I'm just trading in the sim, focusing on base hits. But until then, take care, stay green, and I'll see you next time.